Okay, so good evening once again. And today we are moving straight to our week 2 on our curriculum. I believe you can all hear me, right? Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. Good, good. Thank you very much. So once again, for those who are joining us new, I am Samuel Okolo, and I'll be your host for today's um training. So usually, I think we started last week officially, and today we will be working according to our curriculum. If you have looked at our curriculum, you see that what we will be dealing today with is on Postman, testing APIs with Postman. So on a very quick one, let's dive into what we have today. So I will be sharing my screen as we did before, so we could just see what we have. Good. Let me know if you can see my screen very well. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen clearly. Good one. So this is what we'll be going through today. If you have followed through our curriculum, you see that this is what we have on our curriculum. We have understanding API, REST API. So we'll be looking at get, post, put, delete method. So creating a Postman collection, we'll look at how that is done. We'll setting up API endpoints, sending requests with parameters and headers, interpreting API responses. We have the status code, the body, the headers. We're going to look at that today. Then using environment and global variable, we are still going to see how this is done. Then creating and switching environment, or create environment and then switch between dev, staging, and production, ENV. So when we talk about ENV, we are referring to environment. ENV is the short form for environment. So these are the things that we'll be looking at today. And I just put a checklist here, make it a check so that we can, anyone will just finish, we can check it and we'll know that we've done that. So on a very quick note, let's look at Postman. Now, this is Postman. So all you don't need to do is to type Postman on your web browser, and you create account. If you don't have an account, you create account, then you sign in. After creating an account, you sign in. I'm saying all this for our new, those who are extremely new, right, who have no knowledge of what Postman is. So I'm going to give you an intro of what Postman is. Postman is actually used for testing APIs, right? So we use Postman to actually test APIs. Now, after the developers, that is the back-end developers now, have built the APIs, they actually test the APIs with either Swagger or Postman. Postman is very, very common. Most companies use Postman. So that's why we'll be using Postman actually to carry out our test. So we're going to create. So if you look at what we said here, here now, I already have an account. So I have logged in. And when you log in, something like this is what you are going to see. Though you won't see all these because these works are not going to be there for you because your Postman is just new. So all you don't need to do, this is my home already. So from here, all you need to do is to go to your workspace, right? So when you get to your workspace, just click here and you see create a new workspace. So you have to create a new workspace for you to actually continue. This interface comes up. You have nothing to do here, so just leave it as it is and click next. So here you want to name your workspace. So let's name this TestCraft underscore 01. Let's just name it that. Test, or let's just say TestCraft API testing. API underscore training, right? You can name it whatsoever you want to name. This is what I just feel like naming this. So TestCraft API training. And I want to leave it public. I want to leave it public so that after this training, you can still come back here and see what I've done, just play around with it. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to give an assignment in our community, and I will appreciate if every one of us will actually do the assignment, please. So that's why I'm leaving it public. So while you are doing yours, you can look at what I have done and then see how you will be able to do your assignment. I hope that is okay. Please just give me a thumbs up if you are following what I'm saying. Oh, good. So now you leave it public, but for yours, you might not have to leave it public, might be internal. I think, yeah, internal. If you're mostly if you are working with your firm, most of your company's APIs are not going to be public, though there are some APIs that are meant for the public, right? But most of your internal APIs are going to be internal, right? So we'll leave this public because it's for training purpose. So I'll create. So this is our workspace. If you look at it now, you see that we have our workspace, API testcraft underscore API. Sorry, testcraft underscore API underscore training. So now, once you've gotten your workspace, you now have to create your collection. Take note of that. Your workspace will now house your collection. So here now they're telling you to create your collection, right? So your collection is actually what you'll be using. So I just hit that link that told me the section that told me create a collection, and this is what it came up with. Now if you see here now, here is highlighted. What is happening is telling me new collection. I can rename it to whatsoever that I want. So I want to rename it to what do I rename it now? So create post or or testcraft API, whichever. So let's just name it. You can give me suggestion of names, please. So let's just say API testing, API testing, right? So now you can see that it changed. It has now changed to API testing, right? So now from this collection, I will now be able to start adding my requests. I don't know if I'm making sense. Do you understand how I've come this far? Please, if you don't understand, just put it on the chat. I will be happy to repeat myself. Okay, thank you very much. I see that we are all following. So now, if let's go back home let's go back home. Now, if you go back home, to go back to our workspace, all you just need to do is to click workspace. You select your workspace here. API, sorry, testcraft underscore API underscore training. Then once you select it, you see your collection here. Now, this collection is actually a folder that houses so much of your requests, right? All the requests that you'll be putting here, it will be housing it. So currently we have 0 requests. So you can either click here to add a request, but the best way for you is to look at these 3 dots, right? Can't see your screen. Someone is saying you cannot see my screen. Is it only you that cannot see my screen, or is it general? Please let me know if you can see my screen. If you are seeing my screen, give me a thumbs up, please. It's only one person that okay. So I think Isioma, I think is your network. Maybe you would want to leave and join again, please. Perhaps, yeah, leave and join again. Thank you. So if you look at these 3 dots, just click it, left click, right? Left click on the 3 dots, and you see that you see this add request, right? So if you want to add folder, you can add folder. And here, if you want to automate your this collection, then you run, right? So this is what we want to, this is the action we want to carry on, add request. So we're going to click on this. But before we click on this, what actually do we want to test, right? This now brought me to this website. So if you look at this website, it's for training purpose, right? So they have a lot of mock data which they are giving out to general users to actually carry out their training, so hence we are here, you know. So what we'll be doing is, this is what they have. You can carry out a get request. If you look at what here, we said that we are going to be learning what get request is, post request, put request, and delete request. So, and all of that, they have it here. We have get, we have a post, we have put, we have patch, we have delete. So now that now brought me to all of this. What actually, what do we actually mean by all of this in our API, right? So when we talk about get request method in our API, we are talking about um, a request that you are fetching, a request that you, when you hit the action, it gives you response. For example, if you go into a website and you are making a search, let's assume we go, we are logging into, please, can we get link to the website? Oh, yes, thank you for that. I will give you the link right now. So I will drop the link here, but I will also drop it on in our community, right? But I'll just drop the link here. So yeah, thank you very much for reminding me that. Now, like what I was saying, if you go to Google, every one of us use Google, right? And you type on Google, Google, please, what day is it today? And Google responds and say today is Sunday. That response is a get request. You are fetching it, right? So that is a get request. You don't need to have an account with Google before you get such response. You don't need to log in into the platform, into your own dashboard before you get such response. So it's a get request. Am I making sense? Now we now have post request. Thank you. Now we have post request. What is the difference between get request and post request? For get request, you are getting information. For post request, you are posting, you are giving, you are sending information. Now, at that moment when you ask Google a question, you are posting. Do you get the point? Now, let me give you, for instance, again, a very good example for posting. You want to log in into a website, or you want to create account. There's a website and you say, okay, you've not used that website before, you come in for the first time, and they're telling you, okay, for you to use this website, you have to create account, right? And you click on create account, sign up. You are saying a place where you have to put your name, your first name, surname, as the case may be, your username, password, and they say send, right? Once you enter all of those information and you click send, that information is a post request. You are sending an information to the database. Are you getting me? So it is a post request. So that's the difference. But when you are getting an information from the database, it is a get request. I don't know if I've been able to make sense. So getting an information from the database is a get request, while giving the database, sending an information to the database is a post request. Now, what is put? Put is now where, hope we have put here. Yeah, put. Put is an update where you actually have to update your information, right? How do we make update? Let's assume that in your website or in a particular website, you mistakenly, or you want to change your date of birth. Are you getting me? And perhaps the date of birth that was there before that you initially put, there was a mistake in the day or in the month, and you decide to say, oh, I want to actually put the correct the correct date of birth, then you go to the you log into the website and you make a correction, right? That request is called put. So that put is an update. We are looking more on put, post, get, post, put, and delete. Now, when we now go to delete, which is what we have here, now delete, we all know what delete is, right? I don't even need to explain it. Yeah, so um we've been able to clarify the difference between get, post, put, and delete. Okay, so that is what it is. So today what we'll just be looking at is all of these, right? Our get, we have the post, we have the put, we have the patch, and the delete. So this put, like I said earlier, is for updating, when you have to update your information. Then put is used to update everything, while patch can be used to update section of the field, right? Some section of the information pertaining to whatsoever that needs to be updated. I don't know if I've been able to make sense. Good. So let's go back to our website where we'll be carrying out calling the API. So what we'll be doing here is actually to call their APIs. So if you go to their documentation, so we'll be going to their documentation to see how to call their APIs. This is actually how a tester works. After the dev team, which is the backend, have finished developing the APIs, they are going to give instruction on how to consume the APIs. You are not going to just know what to do. They must give you the endpoint. Now, let's go to our documentation. If you see here, you see note, see guide for usage examples. So this is their documentation. So we have get resources. So for us to get our response, to get post, this is the API we'll be calling. Are you getting it? So we will just copy this endpoint. We'll copy this endpoint and bring it to our Postman. So here, like I said earlier, look at these three dots. I believe everyone can see my screen and see the three dots my mouse is pointing to, right? Can we all see it? I'm clicking now. We have add request. Can we all see the add request? Good. So I'm clicking on add request. Now, when I click on add request, you can see that a new request is added here. And by default, it comes as a get, right? So you always change it. You come to this place and you change to whatever that you are, whatever method you are picking. So I will drop my API here. This is where you drop the API. And what do we actually want? We want to fetch post. Are you getting me? So we literally have nothing to do here. They've just given us the API. And if you see here, it has post/1. So it means that we are actually getting single post here. So let's hit it and see what we will get at the end of the day. Now, our API has worked. So if I am testing, if the a backend have finished this API, right? And it's okay. Sam, I have finished the API for users to actually fetch individual posts. And you have to enter the user ID, right? Or the ID of the user. If you check here now, you see that the ID of the user is 1. So they will give me the API and then look at the user ID /1. So because I have entered the user ID, it's fetching that post for me. So the first thing I will check is the status code. Take note of this. The status code is giving me 200. 200 is okay, right? All the range of 200 means that the API is okay, is good, is working. Take note of that. And you can always make research at the end of this training, right? So first, we've looked at the status code. Status code gives us 200. It means that our API is working. That is the first thing we'll check. Now, the next thing we'll now check is the response. Our response here is in JSON format. If you look at it, are we seeing what I'm look at my cursor? Is clicking on, look at it, you see JSON, right? Now, there are so many formats you can pick here. You have HTML format, you have a JavaScript format, you have raw format and all that. It always comes in JSON format, and you should always let it be in JSON format, right? So the response, you now check what is the response that you are getting. Is it actually according to the requirement that you have with you? Is it according to that is the response according to that requirement? So is the expected result actually matching the current result? In our expected result, if you look at the documentation, let's go back to the documentation. We were told that we'll get an ID, we have the title, we have body, we have user ID. So that's exactly what we got. So we have user ID. If you check, forget about how it was arranged, right? What matters in the database that we have user ID. Then we have ID. Yes, we have ID. Then we have title and we have body. If you check here, we have title, we have body. So our expected result is actually matching our current results. I don't know if I'm making sense. So in that case, we can boldly say that this test case has passed. For those of you who were with me when I did manual test case, so you could just use this scenario to prepare your test case and then test it. Actually carry out the test after this class, carry out the test, prepare your manual test case. The course is still there on YouTube, so for those of you who missed it, go to YouTube and look at it and create your own manual test case, right? Create your own. Then after you finish creating your own, come here and carry out this practice. Just follow the scenarios. Once this pass, you put your record that it has passed, right? Now, if you look at it, let's put a number. So let's give this a name. Let's name it. So look at, I want to rename it. There are two ways you can rename. You can click here and click rename. Look at this. Not on the collection now, on the request itself. There's another three dot on the request. If you click it, you see rename. Or you can just come here where you have this new request again. By clicking, it just automatically highlights. So I'll say single post. I'll say get single post. Get single post. Did you see that? It has automatically changed the request name to get single post. So now, not just that, now that I've gotten a success response, I can decide to save my response. Take note of this. These are the things you have to learn as a QA tester. Now, I want to save success response. What do? I'll come to save response. Look at save response here under my response. So I'll come to save response. Then I will save the response. You see, it's giving me new request. So I'll say success response. I'll just put it. Now it's going to be saved under get single request. It's under it. Look at it, right? So this is the success response. Now, what happens if I get an error response? How do I actually simulate an error response? So let's come here and actually give maybe an ID that is not in existence. Let me just give something like 1000. I know this should not be in existence, and I hit. So when I hit this, good, I get, look at it, 404. Required results could not be found because there's no ID of 1000. Well, that is actually what that means. So what just happened is that I send this request, it checked the database, and there's no ID for 1000. Hence, we got this. The resource is not found, right? So we can save this as error response. I save this now as error response. I just want to abbreviate response. Yeah, and save. So under this get single request, let me save this. I'll click on save. So under get single request, I have my success response. So if everything is working fine, this is what I should be expecting. And if there's error, I should be expecting 404. Or there, look at it, 404 not found. Am I making sense? Now, for the next one, we should be looking at get again. So we want to get post. Look at it, listing all resources. So you just follow the documentation, right? And that is exactly what we'll be doing. So I want to list, for me to get all the posts that is currently existing in the database. So what do? I will come to this up again and click add request. At this time around, I'll hit the endpoint again, which is the API, and I'll change it to get all posts. Enter. So now I'm still not doing anything because I am fetching data from the database. So I'm not imputing anything. I don't have anything to all of these things here. The review, the params, the authorization. These are not they are not my business for now because I'm fetching data from the database. All I just need to do is to hit and I'll click send. Now, when I click send, did you notice the difference now? I'm getting so many posts now, right? So these are actually the posts that are in the database. You can see that they are merged. You get it? So it's different from get single post. Now, if you look at the difference, for get single post, we have the base URL slash post slash the ID. Look at it, slash post slash the ID. So I will change this to 1, actually. It's actually 1 slash post slash the ID. Are you getting it? But for get all posts, there's no ID. So it's generalized. You are fetching all the data, all the posts from the database. Are you getting it? So these are the posts. So I've shown you how to save success response and error response. So if you want to save that, you just come here and save. Now the next we will be looking at now is now to create. So create, yeah, create resource. Now let me check here. If you look at what actually we have here, there's a name for it. We call it the CRUD. CRUD. Now what is actually CRUD? It means create, read, update, and delete. So this is a CRUD operation. So this API, what we are looking at now is a CRUD operation. We're able to create, we can read, we can update, we can delete. Reading is actually when you are getting information, and creating is when you are creating, you are asking, you are sending an information to the database as earlier explained. And updating is when you are updating your information, and delete is when you are deleting the information. So at this point now we are creating. Now look at the API for um for create. If you look at this API, you might be kind of confused. This is exactly the same API as this. Where is it go? Listen all resources. If you look at it, it's exactly the same API, but there's something that is actually different. This one is a get request. Why this one? If you look at the method, like I earlier said, the method we'll be looking at here is now post, no longer get method. So the method here is post. So let's pick exactly the same API. But now look at what now happens in our Postman. So when we come to the Postman, we're going to say add another request, add request. So at this point, we'll put the endpoints as requested. Now we will now come here. For these two above, we were actually fetching information from database. So it is a get request. But this is no longer a get request because we are giving information to the database. So we will come here and select post because we were told in our documentation that this is a post method. Am I making sense, please? Good. So we will come here and select post. And now, because it's a post request, the method we have here is post. It means that we have to give something to the database, right, to store for us. So we cannot leave, we can't just, as we were doing on get, because we changed it to post, then we send. We're going to get error. Let's do that. Now, yes, okay. This is actually how the API was developed. So literally, because this is a testing API, so you have an ID that is 101. But ordinarily, you can't send an empty post to a database. Are you getting my point? So you should get an error by default for a functional API. Remember, this is a testing API, right? So what happens here now is that we have to give information to the API. And how are we going to do that? We will go to the body. Please take note of this. Go to the body. Now, by default, you see it's clicking on none. So you go to raw. You want to go to raw. You hit on raw. Now, when you get to raw, you now see a space here where you enter the information you want to send to database. But there's something you have to take note of. This is raw, and then take note that it has to be in JSON format, right? It has to be in JSON format, depending though on, mostly is on JSON format. But sometimes the API, depending on the requirement for the API, could be a text that is here. Sometimes it could be HTML, but most cases is always on JSON format. And don't even bother yourself for that, because the API developer will give you the API contract. It's called API contract. So let's go to the documentation and see the format of our request. If you look at here now, you see they have title, they have body, they have user ID, right? So we are going to pick this. Now for JSON format, it's always starting with curly braces. Please take note of that. So you have to put your curly brace and then open it, right? So everything will now be inside these curly braces. Now let's go. We have the first one. They have titles. Let's just copy what we have here so that we don't have to be coming here. Good. If you see here now, we're having errors. Why are we having errors? Because on your JSON format, if you look at here now, remind me again what somebody put it on the chat again, please. So we will open this. Now you can see that the error is gone. Yeah, double quote. Thank you. God bless you. So we have the double quote. Now, this is single quote. We actually don't work with single quote for JSON format. So we'll have to remove this quote, this single quote, and make it double quote. Yeah. Now, did you see that the error is gone, right? So we'll also do that for. So what I just did is to highlight this by double clicking, and then I'll just put my double quote. The error is gone. For this, I have to remove those single quote first. I have to remove the single quote first. Then I'll highlight by double clicking. It's not yet highlighted. I'll highlight, and then yeah. Then for this, I'll just, and this is also a string. No, it's not a string. It is a number. Now, so title will say QA testing. Body testing API endpoint. Good. So, and we are going to save. Remember, we've already had requests here, so you just save. Here, what do we name this now? So we say post create. We're creating create post. So we change it to create post. So you can see that this is a post now. These two above are get, while this is a post. Now let us send and see what we get. So if you look at this now, look at our request body. What we have given above is called a request body. Take note of all these terms, because as a tester, when you get to the company, you will get use of all these terms, right? The request body, the response body. So when you actually talking, you should be able to tell, okay, in my response body, I got this. I'm expecting this, but I got this in my response body. What is they will not tell you, oh, what did you put in your request body, or where's your payload? Let me see your payload. Won't talk about your payload, talk about this. Oh, they will tell you, sorry, there's something missing in your payload. Let me give you the original, the main updated payload or whatever, right? So get note of all these things. So if you look at this now, you see that we were able to get exactly what we sent, right? So this is QA testing. In our title, we got QA testing. For body, we got us in API testing API endpoints. For user, we have user ID 1. Then now this is the ID that comes directly from the server, from the system. So you are not this one is sent to you. This is a unique ID, right? That is actually generated for you. I don't know if I'm making sense. You are not the one that sent this. It's generated for you by the system, from the API. They've designed this. The API developers has designed this. That once there is a post request, automatically generate a unique ID for this user, right? So this is what you are getting. So that is it for post. So you can see here we got our 200, our status code 200. And we got our result to be what we were expecting. So let's look at the documentation again. Look at it. You can see output, which is expected result. You get your ID. So we are not out of point. You see the ID 101, which is exactly what we got here. So we are not out of point. And we got your title according to what you put here. You got your body and you got your user ID. So we were on point. Now updating information. So all we just need to do, let's look at the documentation for update. Okay, they are telling us now, if you look at this endpoint, so the endpoint for creating is on post/post, the base URL/post. When I mean by the base URL, this is actually the base URL. This is the URL that I sent in our group. If you look at it, it ends here. It ends here. This is where it ends. So this is the base URL. So whatever you are now adding it, right? Slash whatever, So we have /post / now it ends here for let me confirm again, / what posts. Okay, posts. There should be S here. So yeah. Now for updating, we now have /post / the ID, because, and that makes sense. If you are going to update, you have to pick the ID of the user that has to be updated. I don't know if I'm making sense. You cannot just update someone else's um um post, or update someone else's profile. So there will be a check in the database, right? Okay, is this person actually the user that has logged in? You cannot update someone else's profile. It has to be your own profile. And if you are trying to update someone else's profile while you are logged into your own account, it will throw an error. So all of these checks go on. So for updates, we will look at, okay, so let's create another request. We'll say add another request. So we'll call this one update post. Update post. And we will come here and pick for update post, we pick the endpoints. And we'll bring it here. And here we put it update. We pick update. Now we go to body because there must be something to update. We go to raw and make sure it's on JSON format. So we'll just come here and pick this information. I want us to pick this information because that's what we want to update. I want us to update this. Sorry, where's update again? Yeah, let me save this. So this is now put. So I'll come to here and paste it. So for test QA testing, I will put it QA updates. And for body, I'll say testing, updating, say updating API endpoints. Yeah, so we'll just save and send. Now, did you see that it updated? You can see our response. We got QA update, we got updating API endpoints, and of course, we got our user. But now, please take note, these are mock. Where you with this as I said earlier, they are using mock server. So all of this information are just mocked. They are not going to their to the database. And the reason is like that, is designed that way, is because this website was designed for testing for users, and it's open source, it's free. So if everybody begin to hit the database, bro, the database will crash. So what they could just do is to mock the server, right? So everything you are sending, you'll be getting the response, but it's not actually going to the server. Are you getting it? So it's a mocked server. As you grow, you learn more about how mocked server works. So you can see that what we've updated here, we're able to get it directly. We have updating API endpoint. That's what we put here. So it means that our updating API or update API is working as expected, right? Now the next one is delete. So we're going to go to delete. Delete is quite simple. So we'll just go to still the same endpoint, which we can just pick it from here. But let me just add request. Add request. Okay, so I'll say delete post, and I'll put my endpoint and come here and select delete. Now go to body, raw, and it's on JSON. So I'll come here to documentation. This is what they are saying we should do. Add this. So I'll copy it and bring it here. Remember, our curly braces has to be there first. So I'm having error here. Of course, we already know why. Let me remove this comma because I don't have any other thing outside. So let me put my double quote again. I was almost forgetting that again. Double quote, yes. So I will highlight this again. I'll just double click and then shift and double quote, shift double quote. Yes. So now I will save. So when I send this now, what I'm expecting is nothing. It will just delete. I should not be expecting any response. I should not be getting anything because I've deleted the post. So what should I get? Nothing, empty. So that is what I should be expecting. But of course, I should also be expecting, that is on my response. But for status code, I should be expecting 200. So let's see if we're going to get that. Good. Like I said, I got nothing. You can see it's just ordinary curly brace that I got here because there's nothing inside. It's empty. And our status code is 200. Request was successful. So if you look at it, we succeeded in handling all of these. So I can check this. Now create a Postman collection. We've done this. Set up API endpoint. Yes, we've handled that by using this mock server. Sending requests via parameters and headers. Yes, okay, this now for the headers, let's look at this. Now, if you look at this now, once you put your parameters, let me look at the headers. It's hidden, exactly. So you have this. So you literally don't need to bother yourself much on this header, right? Because once you put your endpoint as is expected, it automatically calls the headers that the backend have developed. They've designed it the way it should be, right? You are not the developer of this API. The backend guys have done their work. Yours is just to test what they've done. Are you getting it? So what you should be putting more emphasis on is your request body and what you get at the end of the day, your response body, right? So in fact, your response body is more, because that is actually what you want to be testing. You want to be testing your status code, you want to test the response body, and you should also be testing maybe other things. Okay, we're still going to look at these. There's something we have to, yeah, the variables, and okay, we still have to look at this. So let's look at this. So please, I want you to pay attention on this. We are almost rounding up. Okay, so now is now to look at the environment. Now, if you look at this, if you look at all we've done so far, you see that we're repeating one thing over and over and over again. That is repeating the same URL, the same base URL. If you look at this, we repeated this base URL. You look at this, we repeated this again. You look at this, we repeated it. So we're just repeating it. Why? Because it's actually the base URL, right? So, and there's one thing in programming that they call dry, right? Dry, dry. What does it stand for? Don't don't repeat yourself. Dry. Please take note of this. It this called okay. Oh, so we will. So are you getting it? Now, if this is actually the right method of actually carrying out your work in software development ecosystem, it means that we are wrong for repeating this base URL, right? It's not right, because, and why is it not actually right? If there's something that I have to change inside this base URL, does it not, if I have like 100 APIs, yes, when you're working with companies, you could have as much as more than 100 is even small. There's a lot of APIs that are more than hundreds, right? It means that you, when one base URL change, you have to go to the 100 of those APIs and begin to change the base URL. It does not make sense. So what do? We now have what we call the environment variable. So we are going to create an environment variable for this. So we pick the base URL, only the base URL. Only, so let's just go look at where's the base URL again. I have the base URL in our chat group. I have it here. So it's also here. Look at it here. Before I came to documentation, this is the base URL, right? This is the base URL up here. If you see come to our Postman, you see have it here before the slash post. So I will pick this base URL, and then I'll go and save it somewhere. So I'll go to our environment. Look at it. Here we have no environment. Can you see it? Here, no environment. So I'll click here, create environment. So I will create an environment to bring me to, once I click it, to bring me to this environment. So another way you can still go straight to this environment and create it. So I'll say create environment. Now, just okay. So I'm creating a new environment. Let's call this one. What do I call this now? I'll call it a dev environment. So let's call it dev env. Env. Remember, I told you I'm using env short for environment. So this one, the variable, I want to call this variable base URL. And then initial value, this initial value, I will now drop the base URL, the website, sorry, the base endpoint, right? In this case now, this is the website. So for your API, they will give you the base endpoint. Now, current value is going to be exactly as it is in the initial value. What do? We just save it. So we save it. Now let's come back to our collection. And look at what we're going to do now. Let's start with this get single post. So I'll remove this. I'll remove this. So I now have slash post /1, right? How do I now reference that variable that I've created? I've dropped it somewhere. So how do I reference it in Postman? I'll put double curly braces. Did you see it? It has shown base URL. I'll just click it. This is it, base URL. And you can see that it has turned. It is showing, it's highlighting, is highlighting blue, showing that it's valid, right? If it's not valid, let me change this. You see that it will turn to red. Base URL. Did you see that? It has turned to red, telling you that there's nothing like that. It's not existing anywhere. Back to L, it has turned blue. So, and if I take my mouse, if I take my cursor here, wait, let me bring it so that it will show. Are you seeing it? It's showing exactly the same endpoint that I drop in the environment. I don't know if I'm making sense, please. So I've just been able to call it. Look at it. Let me go to environment. You see it here. This is it. You have dev env. If I click on this dev env, look at the endpoint that I drop. So it's calling this endpoint by default. Are you getting it? So if I now have to tomorrow I have to change this endpoint, I will just come here, only this place, and make a change. It will affect everywhere where it has been called, right? So in that case, I am not repeating myself. You get it? So I'll just come here and I'll put, so I'll save now. Now let's hit our endpoint. We should also get exactly what we've gotten here because it is calling. I think there's a space here. We shouldn't be. Okay, there's no space. Oh, there's no space. So now let me send. There should be no error. Everything. Did you see that? It just loaded and see, no error. Everything worked perfectly as it should have been, right? Why? Because on this environment is calling, is sorry, an environment is now calling this endpoint, right? Because I've referenced it that it should come and call it. So for this other one, let's now change it again. So we come here, we remove this curly braces, double curly, you just see it here, and you pick it, you save. Now you hit, we're not going to get error. Everything, we got everything as it was. So we can come back here again and just change for all of them. We'll delete this, put two curly braces. Remember, it has to be two curly braces, open and close, 2, right? So we save, we hit again, we get exactly the same thing. There's no error. And we do the same for this. We pick it from here, we save, updated. So let's do this one too so that you see that it's actually working. Let's do QA update 2 and we put 22 here. So let's just save it and hit. So you should see that it's working. Did you see that? These two that I referenced here has shown. 22 has shown on the body. So it is just working as expected. You get it. And for delete, I also delete this one and I put two curly braces. I pick it here and I save, send. Is working as expected. So you can now see that instead of me now to now be repeating that URL, this URL that I have here, repeating it everywhere, I just dropped it somewhere and then I'm calling it dynamically. I'm dynamically referencing it here. Are you getting it? So at this point, I don't want to run, please. At this point now, you can see that everything is just working. Our code is unique, everything is just working as expected. So we are good. So again, let's look at what we should also using environment and global variables. So this should now be the last. Now, okay, and there's something I saw here too. Staging and production. Good. Now, if you look at this, I created this and I called it the dev env. Now, in functional system companies, what they do is that they have the dev env, they have the staging env, and then they have the production env, which the environment, right? So the dev env, what are the differences? The dev env is the environment that the developers push their code to. Once they finish writing their code, they push to the dev env. No one else have access to that environment. The outside world does not have access to that environment, right? It is just the internal system, the internal engineers that have access to that environment. Now, from that dev env, if there's a DevOps in the system, the DevOps will now once that env is stable, the DevOps will push it to staging. Staging now is where the testers do their testing, right? So the testers will test. Why is it always like that? The reason is because the dev env is always very noisy. What do you mean by very noisy? A lot of push is actually going on. A lot of code, is running on that dev env. This particular person will write his code and push to that env. Another person is writing and pushing. The backend is writing and pushing. All of there's a lot of push going on. So there's always this failure of that env. Someone might just push a code and it breaks some other section of the code, and some sections begin to fail. So it's not as if the system is failing. It's just, and most often again, because there's always a push, most of those, the server is always working, and while that server is, you are pushing a code to that server might temporarily be down, and you might just be, if you are testing that env, you might just be saying, there's error. Okay, we don't want the tester to be giving us error where there's no error. We'll create another environment for the testers, which is the staging. So once the dev env is stable, code is migrated from dev to staging. The testers now carry out their testing. Once the testers certify that this code have met all the requirements, right? At that state, the code will now be moved. The tester will now give go ahead for that code to be moved from that staging down to production. It is the production that users have. It is the production that users are seeing. Are you getting it? So normally, the idea is that production should be a replica of the staging. So on no account should tester be testing production in a normal working environment, right? So you don't go and be creating fake accounts in production. You don't go and be doing all manner of your testing, noise. When I mean noise, I'm not talking about verbal noise. It's all the test cases you are running and all that, doing all of that in production. That is not actually right. That is why we have that staging environment. So staging environment should be a replica of production. So if production is failing, staging should be actually having similar issues, right? I hope that I'm communicating and making sense, right? So that is why we have different environments. So in as a tester, when you come in, they are going to expose you to all these environments. And how do you actually, right now we just created one environment, which is the env. So let's create another one. We have so here you have create, you see this plus, you see create another env. So we can just call this the staging environment. So let's call this stage env. And for the record, the fact is that all of them don't have the same endpoints. Please take note of that. They are different environments entirely, different database. Mostly they share different database. For some, it could be, but in most cases they share different database, different endpoints. And I have stated the reason for the different endpoints, so that whatever this one is doing should be completely independent. All of them are independent on themselves, right? So, but because we are testing, we have just one URL, one endpoint at this moment. So we'll just use it for testing purpose. So we put it for staging and we save. So for production too, we also create, and we call this one prod env. Our value, initial value, and then we save. Now there's a name. Remember, if you look at this dev env, there's a variable. That variable is what you will be calling, right? Once you call this variable, it will automatically pick the value of that variable. So for this prod, oh sorry, I made mistake for this prod. So let me change it. This prod. So I remove this e and put arrow. Good. So what is the name? What is the variable we should be picking? So let me call this one stage URL. I'll call this stage, so I'll save. And for what did I just do? This is prod. Sorry. So I'll call this one prod. Prod URL. Prod. Prod URL. I'll save. Now for stage, that is staging. So I'll call this one stage URL, then I'll save. Now see what now happens here. So if I get to my endpoint and I want to test, remember the name, the variable we gave for dev is base URL. If you remember, let's go back, please, so that you get. I want you to just understand this thing. Not just don't just if you look at it, we gave it the variable name we gave it is base URL. The variable name for staging is stage URL. For prod is prod URL. So let's go back to our collection and to our request. So I'm on dev env, right? The variable name is base URL, so it's working, it's recognizing it. Now let me change. Now. You can now see all those environments that I created. I'm now seeing them here. I'm changing now to staging because that is where I should be as a tester. Look at what will just happen. Did you see what just happened here? The variable name has changed. It's telling me that I can't recognize, I no longer find these in staging environments. I don't know if I'm making sense. So it's no longer finding these at all. So if you remember, what is the variable name we gave for staging? Hello, am I communicating, please? Thank you. The variable name we gave for staging environment is stage. So it cannot find base URL again. So we have to put stage. Look at it. Immediately I put stage, it found it. So it gave me that blue highlighted and say, okay, look at it now so you can see. Oh, let me put my cursor so that you can see it. So it's giving it to me that, okay, I find this environment, right? So once you put something that is not it's not the variable name you put, it will throw error. Now let's put for production. We put for production, it's throwing error. I can't find this until you now have to give it the name of the variable that is assigned with. You can say I put prod now, it's not functional. So what am I trying to say in the nutshell? Here, this is actually how you select your different environment. You create your different environment and select your different environment, right? So all you just need to do is to come to your environment, just give it a name, a variable name, and then put the URL here. That's all. For staging, you give it the variable name and the URL. For production, same thing. So once you want to test, which of these env do you want to test? You pick it from here, right? Now, we look at another thing, using environment and global variables. So I think we've done this. So I will check this. Yeah, I'll check this. And this is now the last one. Environment. So I've already treated environment. How about global variable? So let's just treat global variable and we'll call it a day. Now, if you look at this environment, so we have been able to create our environment variables, right? Now, then we now have what we call the global variable. So what is the difference between this environment variable and the global variable? When you create an environment variable, it's just within that environment, right? Even inside the collection is within that environment, right? So that is why the dev environment cannot see what is inside the staging environment, right? None of them can see outside their environment. But for global variables, global variable sees everything. Everything within the collection is seen by the global variable. Now let me explain better. In fact, let's practicalize so that you see. So I want to hit this same endpoint, this same URL now. I'll put it on a global variable. So you can see now this is a global variable. Variable now, I'll call it global URL. Then I'll put my initial value, the same URL, and then I will save. This is a global URL now. So if I come here, let me pick this. If I come to my collection now, and now look at what happens here, and put global URL. Did you see what just happened? I'm on dev env, but it's saying it's global. Dev EF is going to see it. Let me go to staging. It's not going to throw error. I'm on staging right now. I'm on prod, sorry. Prod is seeing it. It's not throwing error. Let me go to staging. I'm on staging right now. Staging is seeing it. It's not throwing error. Why? Because it is global. So that is just the difference. So if you want your variable to be global, you drop it on a global environment. And sorry, on the global stage. If you want it to be just within the environment, you drop it on the environment. I don't know if I've been able to actually make sense. And I think that, okay, thank you. We have covered everything within the what we have today, right? So, like as I've already said, you can ask question if you have any question. We still have about 9 minutes or thereabout to end our um training for today. So, any question? Excuse me. Can you please drop your question on the chat so that we can all see it? So, last weekend, I noticed that those who ask question, when I unmuted everybody, those who ask question, it was not recorded. So if you for those who watch the YouTube, you can see that that section was removed because those people who were talking, their voice was not heard. So anybody who is watching that section now will just like will not even know what I was answering. So I just have to cut that off. So I prefer if questions are being dropped here. If I'm to test Swagger documentation on Postman, is this same method? Yes. So Swagger and Postman, they carry the same thing, right? Funny enough, even GraphQL, right? So you can still you can still import your GraphQL to test on Postman. Let me even show you how that works for those who are already in the system, right? So if you are bringing your Swagger, it's exactly the same thing. Swagger works is exactly the same thing as Postman. So where we have a little bit of difference GraphQL, because GraphQL is not RESTful API. Postman is for RESTful API, but luckily Postman is integrating okay, is on post now. GraphQL. So you can see GraphQL here. So for those who their endpoints, their APIs are built with GraphQL. So all you just need to do is to put your GraphQL. You can see GraphQL here. So once you put your GraphQL, you put your GraphQL query. So here you'll be having mutations. For those who are familiar with GraphQL, you know GraphQL is all about mutations. You know, so you have your mutation, your query. So which of course, once you put your query here, you have your mutation or your query, and then as you hit it, you get your response. But the fact is that by default, GraphQL gives you 200. But within the response value, sorry, within the response body, if it's a fail, you are going to get your failure. The real status code, if it's a 400 or 500 within, inside your response body. So I don't know if I've been able to answer your question. For Swagger, yes, it is. Even for GraphQL, I think I've trans your question to also deal with those who are working with, yeah, GraphQL. Okay, so any other question, please? I tried creating a user as you were. I tried creating as you were teaching on the web application and mobile app. What are the steps? Ah, ah, I was missing the okay. I tried creating a user as you were teaching with the Swagger docs. I got the code 202, but the response body shows unknown. Is that an issue? So the thing is that I think there's something you are mixing, and I would suggest that you just listen, right, while I am teaching, so that at the end of the day you'll be able to follow suit. So what I will suggest you do first is follow what I've just done on Postman, and then follow suit on Swagger. If that does not work, please let's bring it to the community I will handle it. I don't know if I've been able to assist with that because, right? So try just simulate what I've done right now on Postman. Take it exactly as you have it. Take it to Swagger. If it does not work with Swagger, then please call my attention on the community. I will address it. I will handle it with you. Right? Is that okay? Man. Okay, Farouk is saying, can you do a class on GraphQL 2? Man, I don't think GraphQL is in our curriculum. I think GraphQL is in the other curriculum, which I have not brought up. So yes, I'm going to do a GraphQL course, but it is when we now move to pros. It's for the pros. Because if I bring in GraphQL here, I bet you a lot of beginners are going to like get very discouraged. So we are going to treat GraphQL, but it will be on the pros class. Farouk, is that okay by you? Hello, Farouk. Okay, Blessing is asking, what is the difference between Oh, I think he's having network issue. He just left the meeting. Okay, Blessing is asking, what is the difference between testing web application and mobile app? What are the steps and tools used? Oh, wow. So, Blessing, you just want us to jump ahead of time. We will get to that stage, right? Is JMeter on the ah JMeter is on pros. It's not on this curriculum. Remember, this is a starter class, right? And if you look at this now, you see that it's not everybody that is in the community that is in this class because everybody's that is why I expose the curriculum. So you could look at the curriculum. If you feel that you want to join the curriculum, you join. A lot of persons in our community are also have passed this level, hence they are not in this class. But the challenge is that I'm not actually able for now. I'm not able to handle 2 classes in a week because of my work. I have huge workload on me. To be honest with you, even this 1 class that I'm doing is much on me. That's the honest truth. And but I'm just determined to do it, right? So that is going to be in our pros class. Most of all this is going to be in our pros class. For yeah, thank you. So for Blessing, I think I will throw more light on this in our community. We just have 2 minutes time. Please, sir, I will need to rewatch this again. Can you drop the recording? Of course, I always drop the recordings. It be maybe before the next class, you have this recording on YouTube. I always drop this for those who miss the class, right? So it's often yes, I always do that. So Blessing, this question I would like us to take it to the community because we are running out of time. So I will answer it in depth for you in the community. Is that okay by you, please? So I want to stop sharing. Blessing, can you hear me? Okay, so I want to be okay, good. So let's let's communicate in the community group. I will give you the just bring the question up, please don't fail. And once you bring it, I will handle it. And I want to say this in that community group, please. If you have any question, right, just drop it. Drop it. I will pick it up. Are you getting me? I'll pick it up later on and answer it. This is actually the essence of that community. You know, let's learn together. And it's not just only me. For you could drop it and someone else who also know better could also, let's all put our input together. I don't know if I'm making sense.